alien soldier stood at the edge of the ridge, his 4 yellow eyes blinking in disbelief as he stared down at the clearing below where the humans had just landed. Their dropship had hissed steam and dust as the ramp dropped, revealing the first squad of human marines, and the alien could not stop himself from bursting into a laugh. "What are they wearing?" he shouted across the coms to his squad mates. "It looks like someone raided a garbage pile and made armor out of leftovers one human had." A pizza box strapped to his chest, another wore what looked like old sports padding with duct tape crossing the joints. One even had spoons glued to his helmet and was stomping around like it was a fashion parade, not a war. The squad behind him laughed harder, choking on their own snorts, as they watched one of the humans trip over a root and fall face first. His armor scattered like broken toys, and he just sat up grinning as if nothing happened. "This is what the humans sent to fight us," the alien said, shaking his head and chuckling. "The Empire is going to have a short day today." But then came the voice of their commander, calm, cold. "Direct, do not underestimate them. Stay hidden. Observe, report, that is an order." And the laughter stopped. Instantly, the alien soldier straightened up. "Fine, Commander, but come on, they look like walking scrap piles. I bet their armor weighs more than it's worth still." They obeyed. They crouched low behind the ridgeline. Their weapons powered their scans. Active, they watched as the humans marched toward the deeper jungle. Their movement was chaotic. No formation, no discipline, at least not like the Empire soldiers. Every human had a different loadout. One carried a shovel, another had what looked like a child's toy car strapped to his shoulder, a few had strange blinking boxes with wires sticking out. And yet they smiled, they joked, they shouted at each other in their strange, rough language, like they were going to a party, not into enemy territory. The alien squad was silent now, unsure what to make of it. The jungle here was dense, filled with traps laid hours before the Empire planned this operation perfectly. This was going to be the moment they wiped out the human beachhead. The alien soldier checked his weapon and his targeting visor and waited as the humans passed into range. Still joking, still laughing, still wearing those ridiculous outfits, the commander gave the word, and the attack began. Plasma bolts ripped through the trees. The humans from all sides, explosions lit the underbrush, screams echoed through the canopy. It was beautiful. It was perfect until it wasn't. The humans didn't die, not like they were supposed to. They didn't run either. Instead, they ducked, rolled, and began firing back, but not like trained soldiers, more like wild maniacs. One threw what looked like a paint can, and it exploded into smoke, blinding half the squad. Another held up a mirror and reflected a laser shot back into the jungle, striking one of the snipers, and another still ran headfirst into the fire zone with a toaster sparking on his shoulder and somehow blocked 3 shots. Before diving behind a rock, the alien soldier blinked again, unsure if he was seeing it right. This cannot be real, this cannot be working. But it was. The humans advanced through the trap zone with almost 0 losses. Their armor didn't block the shots, but something else did, something invisible. Maybe some kind of tech hidden beneath the junk. Maybe the junk itself was the tech the alien didn't know, and that terrified him more than anything. He fired again, hitting a human directly in the chest. But the human just staggered, laughed, shouted something rude, and threw a cup filled with blue liquid that melted the roots near the sniper's nest, forcing them to scatter. "These aren't warriors," the alien muttered to himself. "These are lunatics, and yet they are winning." The battle turned fast. The Empire's advantage melted like snow in plasma heat, and within minutes the humans were in control of the clearing, smoke rising, trees burning, their armor still flaking apart and clanking like scrap metal, their boots mismatched, their weapons strange and ugly, but somehow working perfectly. The alien squad fell back, climbing over roots and vines, breathing hard, confused, afraid. "This is not what we were told," the soldier whispered. "Not what the report said." The commander met them at the fallback point, his expression unreadable. "We underestimated them," he said. "And now we adapt or we die." The alien nodded, his heart pounding in his chest. For the first time in his military career, he wasn't laughing anymore. Not even a little. The humans had come in armor that looked like madness, but their madness was working, and that meant the Empire had a problem much bigger than it ever expected. Jungle was still burning behind them, smoke trailing into the clouds, as the alien soldier crouched with his squad behind a thick wall of roots, trying to catch his breath. Their commander stood tall, his eyes fixed on the datapad, scanning every movement of the human forces. "They are not following any known formation or strategy," he said in a voice that sounded more confused than commanding it. "It's like watching chaos perform, dance." And still when the alien soldier wiped sweat from his brow, his skin glistened under the dim jungle light. He could hear the humans through the trees, not trying to be quiet, just shouting, laughing, and stomping. Like they owned the planet, one of them screamed in joy as something exploded nearby, and instead of retreating, they all charged toward it. The Empire had spent years perfecting its tactical doctrines, every step measured, every plan calculated, and here came humanity with frying pans tied to their arms, traffic cones on their heads, and gleeful yells. Like children playing war games, and they were not losing. The squad watched as the humans set up what looked like a camp near a river. They brought out blankets, food, music. Someone even inflated a plastic pool and filled it with water from the stream. One soldier had what appeared to be a rubber duck on his shoulder as he stood guard, and still the sensors showed the area around them was now secured, full control, no hostiles left. "This is not how a military force operates," the alien soldier said to his comrade, who only shook his head in disbelief. Then came the moment that changed everything. The second wave of Empire forces moved in. Armored vehicles gliding silently through the terrain, drones scouting ahead, weapons primed. This time the plan was brute force overwhelm. Them crush their chaos with pure strength. The alien soldier and his squad were ordered to flank from the right and capture one of the humans alive for study. They moved quickly, circling the camp, the jungle thick with sounds. When they arrived at the edge of the clearing, they saw something even stranger. A human had stripped his armor off and was standing in shorts and a sleeveless vest, dancing to loud music as another human pointed a strange device at him, recording him like it was a celebration, not a battlefield. The squad raised their weapons and prepared to engage when suddenly the clearing lit up with sparks and blinding light from seemingly random items placed around it. A soda can exploded next to one of the soldiers. Another stepped on what looked like a soft toy that screamed and launched a flare into the sky, disorienting the entire squad. Then came the humans charging in like wild animals, every piece of armor rattling, every movement unpredictable. They wore shields made of cooking trays, helmets made from colanders, and strange devices that spat fire or smoke or sparks. The alien soldier tried to fire but slipped on something squishy and colorful, landing hard on his back and looking up at the towering figure of a human with a shield made from a stop sign and a grin, like he was having the time of his life. Instead of fighting a war, the human did not kill him. He just laughed, tapped the alien's helmet, and ran off, shouting something about getting more marshmallows. The alien squad barely escaped. One soldier was captured, another injured badly, the rest shaken to the core. The commander was silent when they returned to base, reviewing the data again and again, watching as human troops rewired the battlefield to fit their own style, turning every piece of junk into a trap, every object into a tool. "It is not armor," he finally said, looking up from the screen. "It is a delivery system for chaos. The humans are not armored to protect themselves. They are armored to confuse, terrify, and overwhelm, and they are succeeding." The alien soldier felt a chill run through him. These humans are not warriors like us. They are something else entirely. They wear their madness like a badge and wield it like a weapon. They let you think they are weak and stupid, and then they outmaneuver you, not by strength, but by thinking in ways we cannot even begin to predict. The commander stood slowly and turned to the squad. "Tomorrow we try again, but this time we do not treat them like fools. We treat them like monsters wearing clown masks, and if we fail again, we may not get another chance." The alien soldier nodded. The image of the laughing human with a traffic cone on his head burned into his memory. The stupidest armor he had ever seen had become the most terrifying sight of his life, and he knew, deep down, that something had shifted. The Empire was no longer in control, and nothing about this war was going to be predictable again. Sun on the jungle moon began to rise, turning the misty sky a strange violet hue as the alien soldier and his squad crept through the thick underbrush. Their commander had issued new orders this time. Avoid direct engagement. Observe only, collect visual data and report back. No more assumptions, no more laughter. This mission was about understanding, and the alien soldier took it seriously. After the chaos of yesterday, he knew better than to underestimate the humans again. They moved slowly, silently scanning the terrain ahead. As they approached the area the humans had claimed for their base from a distance, it looked even more absurd than before. Strings of blinking lights hung between trees, pots and pans clanged in the breeze, forming what looked like a security system, but had no clear structure. One human stood atop a stack of crates, arms wide, as he gave a passionate speech to a group of his comrades, who were not even listening. Instead, they were tossing something like colored smoke bombs at each other, cheering. When they exploded in their faces, the alien soldier watched and whispered into his, "Comes these beings. Have no discipline, no fear, and no care for safety or logic, and yet we are losing to them." Suddenly, a human stepped forward from the group. This one wore a chest plate, made from an old vending machine door. It had stickers on it and buttons that no longer worked. One shoulder had a plastic steering wheel tied with rope, and the helmet was an upside-down bucket with holes cut for eyes. The alien zoomed in on the figure, curious. Then something happened that made his stomach twist. The human pulled out what appeared to be a small metal rod and began walking alone into the jungle, not toward the enemy, just away from his group. "What is he doing?" the alien soldier whispered. No one followed the human. No one stopped him, and yet he kept walking calmly, as if on a stroll. The squad decided to follow, moving through the trees. And keeping out of sight, the human walked for a long time, stepping over traps without triggering them, avoiding drones without ever seeming to see them. Finally, he reached a clearing where an Empire scout mech stood. Inactive, its crew gone, and its systems offline, likely damaged in the last battle. The alien soldier watched in disbelief as the human walked up to the massive machine and began tapping its armor with his rod, inspecting it like an engineer. Then, in a move that made the alien nearly choked, the human climbed onto the mech and sat on its shoulder, pulling out a sandwich and eating it slowly while humming to himself. "Who does this?" the alien muttered. "What kind of madness is this?" Then the human reached into his strange armor and pulled out a tiny device no bigger than a coin. He pressed it to the mech's head and stepped down calmly. The alien squad barely had time to retreat as the device began flashing. Moments later, the entire mech burst into flames, collapsing into molten rubble. The human didn't run. Instead, he turned toward the trees, smiled directly at the hidden squad, and waved as if saying, "Thank you for watching," and walked back into the jungle. The alien soldier could not believe it. The human knew they were there the whole time and still went through the act casually. Like it was a performance, the squad returned to base, shaken and silent. The commander listened carefully as the soldier gave his report, then leaned back with a long breath. "They are not soldiers," he said. "They are performers and warriors and scientists and children, all rolled into one, and they do not fear us because they do not think. Like us, they use unpredictability as armor, madness as cover and illusion, as strength." The alien soldier stood still, remembering that human sitting on a war machine, like it was a playground, and smiling like he knew a secret no one else did. The Empire's strongest machines could not stop them, because they were never trying to be strong in the same way. Their armor made no sense because it wasn't meant to defend. It was meant to confuse, mislead, and turn every battlefield into a stage. The commander placed a hand on the soldier's shoulder. "Tomorrow, we do not bring weapons. Tomorrow, we bring our minds. If we want to win this war, we must stop trying to beat humans at war and start trying to understand why they never truly enter one to begin with." The alien nodded, slowly, knowing that nothing would ever be the same again, and deep in his heart, he feared the next encounter, because now he understood that behind every ridiculous helmet and foolish armor was a mind that had already decided how to win long before the first shot was ever freed. Alien research vessel hovered silently above the jungle canopy, its scanners sweeping the landscape. Below for energy traces, movement patterns, and weapon signatures, but none of the data made sense. The readings coming from the human encampment defied every known tactical model. The commander ordered a temporary ceasefire to gather intel he wanted to know what lay beneath those layers of ridiculous armor, and the alien soldier who had followed the bucket helmet human into the jungle now stood beside a medical officer inside the analysis chamber staring down at a table where a human corpse lay still and strangely peaceful. The body had been recovered after a skirmish. The armor was damaged, charred, and partially melted, but the components were still intact. The research team approached with reverence and caution, scanning every piece of gear. The chest plate looked like recycled car parts embedded with glitter and wires. The shoulder guard was a child's lunchbox fused with magnetic shards, and inside the helmet was a mess of foam circuits, cloth, and something that smelled like sweet syrup. But when they mapped out the structure, it revealed a hidden layer of complexity beneath the surface. It was not junk, it was camouflage. A layered trick designed to throw off visual scans, heat detection, and even sound mapping. When the medical officer removed the glove, he found a pulse scanner built into a plastic toy, and when he removed a boot, he found that the sole had temperature sensors and terrain adaptive pads made from crushed metal beads. "What is this?" the soldier asked. Stepping back, "This is not armor. This is psychological warfare," the scientist replied. "These humans are not just dressing for protection, they are building deception into their clothing and doing it with complete awareness." The commander arrived shortly after and demanded a full breakdown of the armor's purpose. Within an hour, the truth began to take shape. Every item had a reason, even the ones that seemed most absurd. The spoon helmets were reflective against thermal scans. The duct tape was layered with nanoparticles that jammed enemy radar. The frying pans were not just shields but sonic dampeners. The glitter acted as a static discharge system. The commander frowned, watching as a small drone projected a map of the human equipment. Field data showed the humans adapting their armor every day, modifying it with whatever they found nearby, and somehow improving it. "With each battle, they are evolving faster than we can respond," the commander said, "and they are doing it without central command, without direction. They simply trust each other and build upon what they learn." The alien soldier remembered. The human who danced in the middle of the battlefield remembered. The fear that crept into his spine as he watched someone wearing foam armor defeat an elite trooper without breaking a sweat, and now he saw it clearly. They were not insane, they were brilliant in ways the Empire could not grasp. Back on the jungle floor, the humans were preparing another push. A scout drone captured live footage of them surrounding a table made from a broken wing and debating loudly over how best to improve a helmet made from a kettle one. Humans suggested mounting a fan on top to keep their head cool. Another proposed filling it with jelly to absorb shock, and instead of arguing, they laughed, tried both ideas, and tested them within minutes. One soldier walked through plasma fire wearing a jelly-filled helmet and did not fall. The other strapped a fan to his backpack and somehow redirected smoke from a flare trap using only wind pressure. The aliens watched in silence, not knowing whether to be horrified or amazed. The commander turned to his officers. "Tomorrow we will not fight, we will infiltrate. I want someone to blend in and walk among them, learn how they think, see how they work from within, and maybe then we can understand how they are always one step ahead." The alien soldier volunteered without hesitation, his heart pounding. He would disguise himself as a human prisoner and be planted during a staged ambush. The humans would take him in, and from there he would learn their secrets up close. As the team prepared his disguise, he looked down at the pieces of junk armor being fitted to his frame. He felt the weight of each piece, not just physically but mentally. This was not just armor, it was identity, illusion, chaos, and strategy, all in one. The moment he stepped onto that battlefield dressed like the enemy, he no longer felt superior or confident. He felt like a student stepping into a school run by madmen who had already graduated from a subject he had yet to understand, and deep inside he wondered whether he would ever see the Empire the same way again, because for the first time, believed that the humans were not surviving despite their foolishness. They were surviving because of it, and that might be the alien soldier. Now, dressed in layers of mismatched human junk armor, stood in the middle of the battlefield under heavy rain. Every part of his body felt wrong, uncomfortable, and utterly exposed. A lunch tray was strapped to his thigh and upside down. Keyboard covered his shoulder. His helmet was a half-cut football shell wrapped in reflective tape. He looked like a walking insult to military tradition, and yet no one laughed around him. Humans shouted, sang, and danced in the rain, as if the storm was a concert, not a conflict. Some were tying shiny wrappers around their boots, Others were building what they called trap tunnels, using trash bags, bamboo, and what looked like coat hangers. It made no sense, and yet the traps worked when the Empire's drones entered the jungle, hours later, one by one. They fell into the chaos. The human traps were not powerful, but unpredictable. One drone got tangled in colored wire, another landed on what looked like a toy, and exploded into purple smoke. The alien soldier watched from the front lines, pretending to be one of them. A human slapped his back and handed him something round and glowing. Chew. This, it helps calm your nerves. The human said, smiling wide. The alien hesitated, but accepted, biting into what he later learned was just flavored gum with caffeine and herbs. He chewed, pretending to be relaxed while scanning their systems, their plans, and most importantly, their logic. But there was no logic, not in the way the Empire understood it. Their plans changed every hour based on jokes, dares, bets, and wild ideas. One soldier built a smoke cannon using soda bottles and metal pipes. It worked too well, flooding the entire ridge with dense fog. Another claimed he could control bees, and somehow he did, releasing a swarm near the enemy lines that stung so hard the Empire's elite squad had to retreat. The alien soldier relayed everything through his hidden comlink, but his voice trembled. Commander, they are not fighting a war. They are playing a game, and they are winning. The commander's voice came back cold. We have no more time. Launch the trap sequence now. The soldier froze. He was supposed to lead them into an ambush, into a kill zone lined with plasma mines. But as he looked around at the humans, he saw something unexpected. A young human repairing another's gear, using rubber bands and laughter. One offered him sandwich, another gave him a new arm piece made from bubble wrap and light bulbs. They did not question who he was. They accepted him instantly, despite his strange voice and awkward behavior. He was just another brother in armor, another fool in the tribe. He hesitated. It finally gave the signal through a single twitch of his finger. The Empire's forces waited for the humans to enter the trap zone, but they never did. Instead, one human pulled out a strange, blinking device, pointed at the soldier, and said, "Hey, your backplate is giving off weird energy." The alien panicked, stepping away, but the humans surrounded him with concern, not suspicion. He pulled him aside, removed the backplate, and found the cum beacon blinking softly. One soldier stared at it then. The alien, and his smile faded, his voice dropped. "You're not one of us, are you?" The alien's heart pounded. He expected weapons to be drawn, fists to fly, maybe even an instant execution, but instead, the humans stepped back, and one by one looked at him with a strange calm. The one with the bee swarm kit stepped forward and placed a hand on his chest. "So what now? You going to finish the mission? Or sit down and eat with us? Because honestly, I'm starving and you look soaked." The alien couldn't speak. He stared at them, unsure what kind of warriors these were who found betrayal, and answered with a sandwich. He sat down without knowing why and ate with them while his cum went silent. His commander demanding a reply, but he did not answer when the Empire finally triggered the plasma mines, hoping to catch the humans off guard. They found nothing but decoys and singing frogs wrapped in foil. The real camp had moved hours ago. Led by a human wearing a lampshade on his head and another riding a floating cooler, the Empire had lost control again. And the alien soldier sitting among his former enemies finally understood the truth. Human armor was not built to protect bodies. It was built to protect identity, to confuse, to deflect, and to win hearts through madness. What they wore was not a weakness. It was a signal, a declaration that they would never play the game the way others expected. And in that chaos, they found their edge. The alien leaned back against a tree, surrounded by fools, geniuses, warriors, and pranksters, and whispered to himself, "I was never here to spy. I was here to learn, and now I cannot go back because I have seen what true armor really means." Rain stopped by morning, and the jungle shimmered under the heat as the alien soldier, now fully part of the human squad, walked beside them through the misty undergrowth, his armor made of plastic plates, bottle caps, and shredded banners, clicked softly with each step, and no one questioned it. They called him Patched because his gear looked like it had been patched together by a blind artist, and he smiled at that name more than he ever had under his rank in the Empire. They were moving to a new ridge. Strategic location with an old bunker the humans wanted to turn into what they called a forward fun zone. A mix of defense post, food depot, and chill spot, whatever that meant. He had stopped asking the humans to explain things because every time he tried, they just laughed and said, "You will see," and somehow he always did. They were halfway to the ridge. When they heard the sound of engines rumbling deep and angry, the Empire had returned, this time with heavy artillery, walking tanks, and assault cruisers. They were not playing anymore, and neither were the humans, but the way they prepared was something the aliens still found hard to understand. Instead of locking down in fear, they sprang into motion with joy and energy. One human gathered spare parts from broken drones and made a flying toaster that spat sparks and lights. Another rolled out a big barrel painted like a clown head and filled it with smoke bombs, confetti, and glue, and called it Operation Smile Bomb. The alien could not believe it. He watched as one soldier built a shield out of old tires and tinfoil, and another added wheels to their boots and skated around the bunker, setting traps in the mud. The commander of the Empire broadcasted a message: surrender now and face mercy or be destroyed. The humans broadcasted back a song about a dancing cow and turned up the volume until the forest echoed with absurdity. The first wave of Empire drones came down fast, precise, and without mercy, but the traps worked. The glue bombs trapped their rotors, the confetti jammed their sensors, and the smoke made targeting impossible. One drone exploded after hitting what it thought was a power generator, but turned out to be a pile of potatoes wired with light bulbs and singing chips. The alien soldier fought alongside the humans now, not hiding, not pretending, just fighting and laughing and moving with the madness. He ducked behind a wall made from melted kitchen pans and watched as a human in a cardboard chestplate took down an elite soldier by throwing a frisbee wrapped in metal wire. The enemy could not adapt there. Tactics were too clean, too logical. They could not predict what had no pattern. The Empire brought in tanks, next crushing trees and tearing through soil, but even they could not reach the bunker. The humans had dug moats filled with oil and laced them with magnet traps. They threw smoke grenades and launched fireworks that blinded the tank sensors, and each time they saw a tank break through, they sent in a distraction, like a human juggling live grenades or another pretending to ride an invisible horse, yelling battle cries from a fantasy movie, and somehow it worked. Every distraction slowed the enemy, every joke disarmed fear, and every act of madness confused the Empire to the point of retreat. The alien soldier, now fully committed, ran to the ridge and looked over the field. It was a war zone, yes, but it was also a carnival of defiance. Every broken rule, every absurd design was a declaration that they would not be conquered by logic, because they had mastered the art of chaos. And just when he thought he had seen it all, one of the humans climbed at the top of the bunker and yelled incoming with a megaphone shaped like a fish. The Empire launched one last desperate strike. Plasma beams lit the sky, the jungle exploded, and the ridge shook under the force of impact. But when the dust cleared, the bunker still stood, and so did the humans, battered, dirty, laughing, bleeding, but still singing one-handed. The alien, a medal made from melted cutlery, and said, "You earned it, brother." And the alien took it with a heavy breath, his eyes scanning the field where nothing made sense and everything worked. He had come here to spy, to deceive, to report and destroy, but now all he wanted was to stay and learn and live, because in this madness he had found something rare, something powerful. Humans did not wear armor to shield themselves from pain. They wore it to shield the world from what they were capable of when they decided they had nothing left to lose and everything left to prevent. The sun rose slow and golden over the hills as the war quieted for the first time in weeks. The smoke faded from the trees, and the air no longer shook from engines or lasers. The alien soldier sat on a wooden crate outside the human bunker, sipping something warm from a strange plastic cup that smelled like cinnamon and something else he could not name. His armor still clinked gently. When he moved, still made of old plates, wires, toy fragments, and glitter, and yet it felt heavier than before, not because of the weight, but because of what it meant now to him. Behind him, the humans cleaned their gear, singing, laughing, some of them fixing their armor with duct tape and stickers, while others prepared what they called the peace show, a celebration they claimed would be bigger than victory itself. The alien watched as one of the humans tied balloons to a drone and sent it floating into the sky. Others painted giant messages on tree trunks with mud and color that said welcome. Home Warrior, the battle had ended not because the Empire surrendered, but because they could no longer continue. Fighting something they could not understand, they had withdrawn quietly, leaving only silence behind. No more broadcasts, no more attacks. No more threats, just the strange piece of defeat, the alien soldier. A more human in thought than in appearance, recorded one last message for his people, his voice. Though steady, filled with something new, something like truth, if you are hearing this. He said, "I do not return as your soldier. I return as a witness. I have seen the armor of humanity. And it is not stupid, it is brilliant in ways. We never prepared for it. We thought we were fighting children dressed in trash. We were wrong. We were fighting minds that used madness as weapon, hearts that used laughter as shield, and souls that danced through fear like it was smoke. They let us laugh so we would not see them coming. They let us fire first so they could learn and adapt. They made chaos their camouflage and insanity, their sword, and while we calculated and aligned and projected, they improvised and joked and survived. I was there. I wore their armor. I walked among them. I ate their food and listened to their stories. And I watched them cry when they lost one of their own, even if he wore a helmet made of pasta. I saw one human walk through fire to save another. With only bubble wrap around his arms and a flag made from socks, I watched another throw down his weapon to carry a wounded friend through acid rain. Wrapped in nothing but an old curtain and stubborn hope, they are not fools, they are fearless. Not because they feel no fear, but because they carry each other through it, and if you still think they are weak, then go ahead, Will. Always find a way to turn your strength into a joke and your plans into ruins. The message ended, and he stood watching. The humans light lanterns and release them into the wind, each one carrying a memory, a name, a piece of the fight that had just ended one. Human handed him a lantern with his own name scribbled in marker, and a drawing of him in his ridiculous armor. Smiling wide, he smiled back and let it go. The lantern rising with the rest glowing against the early morning sky, the humans began their piece. Show then, no weapons, no drills, just music, color, food, and laughter, and in the center of it all a new statue, not of a hero, not of a general, but of a human mannequin, wearing every kind of armor they had used, from frying pans to rubber boots to glitter and glow sticks, and above it a plaque that read, "We win because we refuse to be what they expect." The alien stood before it, his eyes wide and his throat tight, and he realized this was not just war, this was history, and he had lived through it, not as a conqueror, but as a student, and now as a brother. And when the stars came out and the fires burned low and the humans began to sleep wrapped in their junk armor and dreams, he stayed, wake watching, guarding, remembering, and whispering silently to the night, "I will never laugh at them again, because now I know what hides beneath the helmet." Of fools, the most dangerous warriors the galaxy has ever seen. The end.